Welcome to Cause Before Symptom with your host, James Carner.
Good evening! Tonight we're going to be talking about the Order of the Illuminati, its origins, its methods, and its influence on world events. Stick around. Welcome to Cause Before Symptom. I'm your host, James Carner. Today is October 13th, 2024. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Illuminati. Yes, it's real. It's been around for a couple hundred years. And I think it is one of the sources of the protocols of the ruled elders of Zion. And all the shit that came up with. You guys remember when we read that entirety? It took us 3 days to talk about their plans of world domination and how they're going to squash us Goyim. But the internet has hit them by surprise, and more people are waking up than they could have ever fathomed. Now, where that leads us, I don't know. But people like me, who have a stupid show every night, are helping spread awareness of the Jesuits, or the Society of Jesus, who has been in control of this planet for a very long time. And they better do something quick, or they're going to face public scrutiny. Yes. I don't know if you guys knew this, but a pastor whom I truly love very much, the first day I met this pastor, it's about like 15 years ago. He was speaking at a home with a bunch of dudes like me just trying to figure out what in the hell is going on. And as he was speaking to everyone, I was sitting in the back, quiet, listening. He stopped mid-sentence, pointed to me, and said, You are going to be an aristocratic exploiter. And then turned around right back into speaking about the subject he was on God. That took me by surprise. I didn't understand what he meant by that, because at the time I wasn't exploiting any aristocrats. Fast forward 15 years, stories like what I'm going to expose tonight is starting to make sense now. You see, prophecy is real. I believe in it. God, the Creator, the Father, the King of all kings is real, and I believe in it. And the story I'm going to be telling you tonight about the origins of the Illuminati is as accurate as we can possibly get without pointing any fingers or saying this person or that person is evil. It's a very objective, journalistic approach to the Illuminati, its beginnings, and hopefully its end. So let's get into it. The Order of the Illuminati, its origins, its methods, and its influence on the world events. I found an amazing website and would have never found it unless I used Russia's Yandex. You see, Yandex is a competitor to Google. Instead of it being Google, an American, California-owned organization by Alphabet, Russia has Yandex. Now, when you go to Yandex and you type in things you want to look for, it does not censor any information in the United States of America. So if you want to find real information without Google censoring it for your protection, go to Yandex. Now, this website that I found is shadow banned in the United States. And for good reason, right, CIA? OccultWisdomHaven.com. Go check it out. OccultWisdomHaven.com. The link is below. I always provide my sources. Now, this website has a wealth of knowledge about the esoteric, the occult, Illuminati, etc. And I wanted to share some of it with you guys tonight. Now, the Order of the Illuminati is often at the center of debates about the impact of secret societies on human history. Is the Illuminati a myth, or does it truly secretly rule the world? That's what I want to know. Is the Illuminati a myth? Well, as the number of people asking that question has grown, facts about the order have become diluted with misconceptions and disinformation, making objective research on the subject very difficult. And I would agree with that. This article attempts to shed some factual light on the order of the Illuminati by reviewing some of the most important documents on the subject. The word Illuminati is thrown around rather freely to describe the elite group that is secretly running the world. Most have a general idea of the meaning of the term, but are confused about the concepts and the ideas relating to it. Is the Illuminati the same thing as Freemasonry? What are their goals? What are their beliefs? Why do they act in secret? Do they practice occultism, like satanic worship? Attempting to objectively research the subject can become an arduous task, as most sources end up being either dismissive and disinformation pieces that deny and even ridicule anything related to the Illuminati, or, at the other end of the spectrum, espouse ill-informed fear-mongering based on rumors and misconceptions. In both cases, the researcher ends up with the same result: a distorted version of the truth. And because it is a secret society, that's what we're going to get. They are not going to expose their secret agenda. But we've come close to figuring out who they are. Considering that secret societies are based or are supposed to be, by definition, secret, and that history is often rewritten by those in power, obtaining the unbiased truth about the Illuminati is a big challenge. This article does not claim to reveal or expose everything that is to be known about the Illuminati. Rather, it attempts to draw a more precise picture of the order by citing authors who have extensively studied the subject. Whether they are, at the end of the day, critics or apologists of the Illuminati, these authors base their thoughts on credible facts. Some of the most interesting documents on the Illuminati were written by initiates of secret societies, as they understood the philosophical and spiritual undercurrent driving the movement forward. Using these works, we will look at the origins, the methods, and the impacts of the Illuminati on the world stage today. Now, there are different types of secret societies. Although several groups called themselves Illuminati in the past, the most influential and memorable of them are the Bavarian Illuminati. Founded in May 1st of 1776, the organization created by Adam Weishaupt blurred the lines between spiritual and political secret societies. By mixing the occult sciences of Freemasonry and Rosicrucianism, while conspiring to achieve precise political goals, the Illuminati became an actor on the world stage. While most secret societies of the time catered to rich people and their fascination with occultism, the Bavarian Illuminati actively sought to profoundly change the world. Secret societies have existed throughout the course of history, each of them with different aims and with different roles in society. While the Egyptian mystery schools were part of the Egyptian institution, like Alexandria, other groups were secret due to their subversive and conspiratorial aims. These two next quotes, written by two famous political figures, describe these opposing views on secret societies. In 1884, Sir Edward Bulwer Lytton quotes, "Did Zanoni belong to this mystical fraternity who, in an earlier age, boasted of secrets of which the philosopher's stone was but the least, who considered themselves the heirs of all that the Chaldeans and the Magi, the Gymnosophists, and the Platonists had taught, and who differed from all the darker sons of magic in the virtue of their lives, the purity of their doctrines, and their insisting as the foundation of all wisdom on the subjugation of the sense and the intensity of religious faith? Wow. Quote from British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli in 1876, quote, "The governments of the present day have to deal not merely with other governments, with emperors, kings, and ministers, but also with the secret societies, which have everywhere their unscrupulous agents and can at the last moment upset all governments' plans." Unquote. That was a British Prime Minister in 1876. These quotes describe different realms of influence of secret societies. Do you remember John F. Kennedy in his speech to the press about secret societies and how they are awful for the people and governments? These quotes describe different realms of influence of secret societies. The first one refers to the spiritual side, while the second one describes the political side. Not all secret societies dwell in the spiritual, and not all of them get involved in political machinations. The Bavarian Illuminati operated in both realms, meaning they had ulterior motives. Spiritual brotherhoods are pledged to wisdom and guiding humanity towards the realm of the infinite. Political brotherhoods are comprised of power seekers who cloak their manipulative agenda in darkness. All secret societies are certain fundamental themes. Membership is restricted to those who have an abiding interest in the subject. Thus, a spiritual group will attract people seeking more knowledge of a particular teacher or type of practice. The student is aware of the subject matter in advance and will approach the group for further instruction. More rarely, an individual may be tapped by the group because of the perceived affinity to its purpose. Meaning, what they do is they hang or they dangle a carrot in front of you of wisdom and knowledge, and they make you do things to achieve enlightenment towards that information. And when you finally get to the end, you're worshiping Lucifer, and you're confused. And by the time you do that, you've done so many things with these secret societies that they have so much blackmail on you that it's almost impossible to get out. All secret societies share certain fundamental themes. Membership is restricted to those who have an abiding interest in the subject. Thus, a spiritual group will attract people seeking more knowledge of a particular teacher or type of practice. The student is aware of the subject matter in advance and will approach the group for further instruction. Just like what I was saying. More rarely, an individual may be tapped by the group because of a perceived affinity to its purpose. So I just reread that sentence, sorry. But, it is a live show. I can screw up every now and then. In a political secret society, membership is restricted to those who share an ideological affinity with the goals the group represents. At the furthest end of the political spectrum, the mission will be revolution. Such a society will go to great lengths to defend itself. The Illuminati are perceived by many as spanning the chasm between the spiritual and the political secret society. Often credited or blamed for influencing the French Revolution in 1787, the Illuminati taught a doctrine of social and political liberation that hinged on the equality of man, the embrace of rationalism, and the denial of crown and church as the legitimate institutions for the regulation of social and moral values. While the views of the Illuminati may sound quite advanced for the time, the European revolutions they are believed to have encouraged generated into brutal bloodbaths, whose singular lack of moral compass was appalling. While some believe that Adam Weishaupt was the sole mastermind of the Illuminati, and that his organization rose to glory and died in the less than 12 years most researchers initiated in occultism believe that the Bavarian Illuminati was the rare appearance of an ancient brotherhood that could be traced back to the Knights Templars of the Middle Ages. Have you heard of them? They were pretty nasty. Yes, it is my show, after all. It's going to be a long one, so hang in there, guys. Shout out to everybody who's here. Edged, She Lexi, Boots, what's going on? Amanda, Texas Militia, Claire, and Kimmy, what is up? And I think that's it. Guys, thank you for being here. If I missed you, please don't be upset with me. I do love you all. Now, while some believe that Adam Weishaupt was the sole mastermind of the Illuminati and that his organization rose to glory and died in less than 12 years, I just read the same fucking thing again, sorry. Manly P. Hall, a 33rd degree Freemason and prolific author, described in his pamphlet, Masonic Orders of Fraternity, an invisible empire that has been silently working for centuries towards social change. It periodically became visible throughout history through different organizations who bore different names. According to him, these groups have a great yet silent impact on society, even transforming the educational system to form future generations. Now, it's not hard if you're a billionaire, okay, to gather other billionaires and who are in different things like agriculture. Others are in manufacturing products. Others are into water filtration, and others are in government. And you get all those billionaires together, right? You sit them down, and you come up with an idea to change public opinion and change the world towards your desires. And their desires are always world domination and getting rid of the population, sacrificing people, because they're the ones who rose to glory, and they feel they are entitled to do whatever they want to the people. And since they've been indoctrinated through bloodlines, through passing on from generation to generation, they were born into that thinking. They were born into that ideology. They were born into this Illuminist secret society way of doing things. And so to them it comes natural. And believe me, the Illuminati aren't just the only secret society. In fact, the Illuminati has been exposed for quite some time, thanks to Fritz Springmeier. And now they've had to change the name because they're not the Illuminati anymore. Now, they joke around with it through the entertainment industry as artists like P. Diddy or Drake, or I don't know. All of those that are up there, they will mention the Illuminati. They're part of the Illuminati. Now, even though they are a part of that group, they most likely have changed their name from the Illuminated ones to something else. They'll go underground and then come up as, the perfectionists or whatever. But regardless, they've always been around. It isn't anything new, as nothing new is under the sun. The direct descent of the essential program of the esoteric schools was entrusted to groups already well-conditioned for the work. The guilds, trade unions, and similar protective and benevolent societies had been internally strengthened by the introduction of a new learning. Remember them dangling that knowledge carrot. Ooh, we've got information about the Mesopotamians and how they did their waterworks. Things like that. The advancement of the plan required the enlargement of the boundaries of the philosophic overstate. A world fraternity was needed, sustained by a deep and broad program of education according to the method. Such a fraternity could not immediately include all men. but it could unite the activities of certain kinds of men, regardless of their racial or religious beliefs or the nations in which they dwelt. They were the men of towardness, the sons of tomorrow, whose symbol was a blazing sun rising over the mountains of the east. Obviously, that's esoteric meaning right there. It was inevitable that the orders of fraternity should sponsor world education. The program included a systemic expansion of existing institutions and the enlargement of their spheres of influence. Slowly, the orders of universal reformation faded from public attention, and in their place appeared the orders of world brotherhood. You've heard of the Muslim Brotherhood. Everything possible was done to prevent the transitions from being obvious back then. But the internet, save information being at our fingertips, changed the game. They have to do something else. Even history was falsified to make certain sequences of activity unrecognizable. The shift of emphasis never gave the impression of abruptness, and the motion appeared as a dawning of social consciousness. The most obvious clues to the secret activity have been the prevailing silence about the origin and the impossibility of filing the lacunae in the records of the 17th and 18th century fraternal orders. So just like what they're doing attacking Internet Archive, who has been under constant DDoS attack since May, they are attacking and getting them to give in so that they can control the narrative and control history by deleting or changing websites of the past. They did the exact same thing with the libraries, with the publications, the printers. They would go in, blackmail, and come out righteous because after 100 years, no one will remember what was written back then and who talked about it and what was changed and what was not. Every 100 years, we lose our memory because we die. And they take advantage of that because these family bloodlines have another child ready to take the reign. They delete or manipulate or change history, especially the Bible. And 100 years later, no one will know the difference because they have made sure that no one takes that legacy to the next. Meaning, we don't breed kids to talk more about what we've learned. We don't teach our children all about the secret societies, occults, esotericism, and the like. Because we just find it fascinating and we're just trying to expose it, but we're not breeding our future generations to fight against this new world order. And this is why they have been in control for over 6,000 years, since Cain killed his brother Abel. The orders of fraternity were attached by slender and almost invisible threads to the parent project. Like earlier schools of the mysteries, these fraternities were not in themselves actual embodiments of the esoteric associations, like the Luciferians, the Satanists. They have different denominations, but rather instruments to advance certain objectives of the divine plan. Here, Hall, a silence and lack of information regarding the workings of secret societies during the 17th and 18th century, the epoch during which the Bavarian Illuminati was active, Manly P. Hall. I'll show a picture of him later. It is during this time period that secret societies took action, causing revolutions, overthrowing monarchical and papal powers, and taking hold of the banking system. Was the Bavarian Illuminati part of the invisible empire described by Manly P. Hall? Is it still active today? Well, let's first look at Adam Weishaupt and his infamous secret society. Let me go here. All right. Notice the owl. Now, Adam Weishaupt was trained by the Society of Jesus, or the Jesuits. Adam Weishaupt was born in Ingolstadt, Bavaria on February 6, 1748. His father died when he was 7, and his grandfather, Baron Ickstadt, entrusted his early education to the most powerful group of the time, the Jesuits. Known for its subversive methods and conspiratorial tendencies, the Society of Jesus had a stronghold on Bavaria's politics and educational system. The degree of power to which the representatives of the Society of Jesus had been able to attain in Bavaria was all but absolute. Members of the order were the confessors and preceptors of the electors. Hence, they had a direct influence upon the policies of government. The censorship of religion had fallen into the eager hands to the extent that some of the parishes even were compelled to recognize their authority and power, to exterminate all Protestant influence, and to render the Catholic establishment complete. They had taken possession of the instruments of public education. It was by Jesuits that the majority of the Bavarian colleges were founded, and by them they were controlled. By them also the secondary schools of the country were conducted. The inner workings of the Society of Jesus was quite similar to the occult brotherhoods it was apparently working against. It functioned with degrees, initiation rites, elaborate rituals, and esoteric symbolism that had been suppressed countless times in several countries due to its subversive tendencies. In 1773, Weissaupt's grandfather used his great influence at the University of Ingolstadt to place his godson as the chair of canon law. At that time, the institution was under heavy Jesuitical dominance, and that particular position was traditionally held by influential Jesuits. Weissaupt's growing embrace of Age of Enlightenment philosophies placed him at odds with the Jesuits, and all kinds of political drama ensued. Despite this fact, Weishaupt learned a lot from the Jesuits' organization and their subversive method to obtain power. It is during this time that the idea of a secret society began to enter Weishaupt's thoughts. I believe he probably had access to information about the Knights Templar and how they were able to keep their secrets, especially the Books of Solomon or the Lost Keys. Brilliant and well-trained in the conspiratorial methods to access to power, young Weishaupt decided to organize a body of conspirators determined to free the world from Jesuitical rule of Rome. So you have to understand, it appears, we don't know, but it appears that Adam Weishaupt originally started a secret group to stop the Jesuits and their control of the Catholic Church and their secret society. So he said, I'm going to start my own. Now, this is what you can find via academically. We don't know the full and real truth if Adam Weishaupt, if he was good at first, bad later, or good at first and died and they took it over from him. We can only speculate. But academia says he had good intentions to start a secret society to stop the Jesuits. Now, while some authors believe that the Jesuits, who were suppressed by the papal bull in 1773, used Weishaupt to perpetuate their rule, others state that he was seeking to overthrow their powerful hold on Bavarian. On a wider scale, he was convinced that the world would profit from the overthrow of all governmental and religious institutions in the world to replace them by a worldwide yet secretive committee of initiates. To achieve this aim, he would use Jesuit methods against the Jesuits. As Weishaupt pursued his studies, he also became knowledgeable in occult mysteries and Hermeticism, meaning he was getting into Satanism. He recognized the attractive power of this mysterious knowledge and understood that Masonic lodges would be the ideal venue to propagate his views. He therefore sought to become a Freemason, but was quickly disenchanted with the idea. his imagination having taken heat from his reflections upon the attractive power of the Eleusinian mysteries. I'll spell that, Eleusinian, Eleusinian mysteries, and the influence exerted by the secret cult of the Pythagoreans. It was first in Weissaupt's thought to seek in the Masonic institutions of the day the opportunity he coveted for the propagation of his views. From this original intent, however, he was soon diverted, in part because of the difficulty he experienced in commanding sufficient funds to gain admission to a lodge of Masons, in part because his study of such Masonic books as came into his hands persuaded him that the mysteries of Freemasonry were too puerile and too readily accessible to the general public to make them worthwhile. I've also read that the Freemasons kicked him out because he was too satanic. And I've also read that Adam Weishaupt took over the Freemasonry, which was good at first, and turned it satanic. But again, it's really hard to understand something when you weren't there. Weishaupt soon realized that to achieve his aims, it would be necessary for him to create his own secretive group, composed of powerful individuals who would embrace his views and help him propagate them. He deemed it necessary, therefore, to launch out an independent lines. He would form a model secret organization comprised of schools of wisdom, concealed from the gaze of the world behind walls of seclusion and mystery, wherein those truths, which the folly and egotism of the priests banned from the public chairs of education, might be taught with perfect freedom to susceptible use. So you got to think of it this way, guys. The Catholic Church had full control over Europe at that time, right at the end of the Dark Ages. And who controlled that was the Jesuits. And they had an agenda. And now, at first, maybe Weishaupt had good intentions to overthrow them, but got into esoteric theology and started to reason with himself that the only way to beat Satan is to be Satan. Meaning he had to fight the Jesuits with Jesuit games or Jesuit weapons. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like I was thinking today about how do you stop all of the people who are greedy and don't care about the environment and just want to pollute and steal, kill, and destroy? Well, you have to do evil against them to get rid of them. Isn't evil against them destroying their lineage so that they won't raise up other kids to do the same? That's kind of the irony that we live in this world where Jesus tells us to love our neighbor, yet there's not a damn thing we can do about Satanism, Luciferianism, unless we go after them and destroy them. Is that the Christian point of view? Well, the Catholic Church took Christianity and were destroying good people, calling them evil and demons. It's quite a fascinating subject to think about. He deemed it necessary, therefore, to launch out an independent lines. Oh, we already talked about that. All right. Well, no, we didn't. He would form a model secret organization comprised of schools of wisdom, right? But then what he decided was he was going to get and bring in the youth. Okay, the first Hitler Youth started with Adam Weishaupt, believe it or not. The goal of Weishaupt's organization was simple yet monumental: to overthrow all political and religious institutions in order to replace it with a group of illuminated ones, or Illuminati initiates, right? According to him, universal happiness, complete and rapid, could be achieved by disposing of hierarchy, rank, and riches. Princes and nations will disappear without violence from the earth. The human race will become one family. The world will be the abode of reasonable men. On May 1st, 1776, the Order of the Illuminati was founded. Interesting. Not even April, May, June, July. 3 months later, America was founded.
Why do 75% of people feel exhausted all the time? The answer might surprise you. In the 1920s, Standard Oil decided to dive into medicine. They pushed synthetic petroleum into our drugs. Sure, it masked symptoms, but it wrecked our guts. Our good bacteria, which fight off parasites and heavy metals, got wiped out by crude oil. But here's the good news. We can fix this by going back to nature. Introducing Elite Potion, the world's top detox program. It restores your good bacteria by removing toxic threats like aluminum, strontium, barium, and parasites. Imagine feeling energized and alive again. They said there couldn't be a pill that did it all. We invented it. Visit elitepotion.com and reclaim your health from synthetic pharmaceuticals. Your body will thank you.
If you're just joining in, we're talking about the Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt, and the Bavarian Society, and how he made a plan to form the Illuminati and to destroy the institutions, the bloodlines, and the families that were in control, or the Society of Jesus, who were all in control of Europe. And Adam Weishaupt was the beginning of all of that. Now, the Bavarian Illuminati, Weishaupt's secret society, Illuminati, began humbly with only 5 members. But after a few years, and with powerful connections, the order became a major political force across the world. Influential deciders, rich industrialists, powerful noblemen, and mysterious occultists joined the order and participated in its conspiratorial objectives. Some historians claim that the order's quick rise to success was due to a secret meeting between Weishaupt and a mysterious figure named Cagliostro, the most powerful occultist of the time. It's funny. The Bible says, how can Satan cast out Satan? Satan was already in control of the Catholic Church, in control of the institutions, in control of all of those organizations. So Weishaupt started off with esotericism and started off with a freaking witch or a wizard right off the bat. Well, we got to get ourselves a wizard and some witches. We gotta fight Satan by being Satan. That's what happened. In Ingolstadt, Cagliostro is believed to have met Adam Weishaupt, professor of philosophy and canon law at the university, who in 1776 had founded the sect of Illuminati. Calling themselves heirs to the Knights Templar, they declared their interest in using celestial intervention as achieved by Cagliostro for the furtherance of a program of worldwide religious reform. But one more radical than Cagliostro's, committing to avenging the death of the Templars' Grand Master Molay by reducing the dust, the triple crown of the popes, and disposing of the last of the Capet kings. Cagliostro obliged and described in prophetic detail the decapitation of Louis XVI, an event hardly to be envisaged at that time as anything but improbable. Now, think about this. The Breakspears were in control up until the year 1500. That's when they started to become attacked by the Orsinis to gain control. Now, the Orsinis gained control from the Breakspear of the actual Catholic Church and created what I believe is what we know is the Vatican, okay? The Vatican and London became its own entity. And what's funny is, who was Adam Weishaupt against? Was he against the Breakspear family, or was he against the Orsini family? Who was the one in charge? Who was the gray pope at the time when Adam Weishaupt decided to take it down? It literally was Domenico Napoleon Orsini. So it seems that Weishaupt was going up against the Orsini clan at around 1776. But the Spanish Inquisition still took 500 years to take out all of the Breakspear family and the control and all of the octopus tentacles they had and everything. It is speculated that the Orsinis did not finally take control of the world until Germany was taken out in World War I. Now, this is just from history that I've studied. I could be completely wrong. And believe me, I don't care if I am or not. This is just stuff that, this is my channel. I do things just to get all this stuff off my chest so I can go back and dig up the research that I did in the past so I can try to put it all together correctly in my mind. But as the research has concluded that what I've seen, I still don't know who Weishaupt was fighting against. Which family? I just don't know. What could have been done was the Orsinis decided to bring back the Knights Templars because that was directed under the Breakspear family. And then instead of calling them the Knights Templars, they started it with Weishaupt to gain control. And it could be that Weishaupt was working with the Orsinis to overthrow the rest of the Breakspear tentacles. That's probably my best guess at this. I don't know. I just don't know. Now, in Ingolstadt, Cagliostro is believed to have met Adam Weishaupt. I know we read this before, but I didn't read the whole thing. And canon law at the university, who in 1776 had founded the sect of the Illuminati, calling themselves heirs to the Knights Templar, they declared their interest in using celestial intervention as achieved by Cagliostro for the furtherance of a program, worldwide religion reform, but one more radical than Cagliostro's, committed to avenging the death of the Templars' Grand Master Molay by reducing the dust, the triple crown of the popes, and disposing of the last of the Capet kings. Don't know anything about the Capet kings. Maybe they were part of the leftovers, whom had still lots of control and power. But the Orsinis did not want them. They didn't want any of them. Orsinis wanted the full power and reign to accept and get and win the scepter. The spear of Longinus, the centurion that pierced the side of Jesus, the spear of destiny, where every 500 years it is believed that these families do a ritual of the breaking of the spear and hand control over to the other. Cagliostro obliged and described in prophetic detail the decapitation of Louis XVI, an event hardly to be envisaged at that time as anything but improbable. The Bavarian Illuminati was originally comprised of three primary grades: novice, minerval, and illuminated minerval. Each grade was designed to achieve particular objectives while assuring complete control and dominance to the apex of the pyramid. Now, here's a brief look at each grade. The novice, from the beginning, is an entry-level member of the Bavarian Illuminati. They were attracted and introduced to the order using attractive vocabulary, or the quest for wisdom and betterment, right? And also occult lore. Hey, you want to know how to cast spells? Come join us. They were, however, introduced to a highly monitored and controlling hierarchy, one that resembles the system of the Jesuits. How can Satan cast out Satan? There was no mention of the order's political aims at that time. Once enrolled, the instruction of each novice was to be in the hands of his enroller, or handler, who kept well hidden from his pupil the identity of the rest of his superiors. Such statutes of the order as he was permitted to read impressed upon the mind of the novice that the particular ends sought in his novitiate were to ameliorate and perfect his moral character, expand his principles of humanity and sociability, and solicit his interest in the laudable objects of thwarting the schemes of evil men, assist or in assisting oppressed virtue and helping men of merit to find suitable places in the world. Having had impressed upon him the necessity of maintaining inviolable secrecy respecting the affairs of the order, the further duties of subordinating his egoistic views and interests and of according respect and complete obedience to his superiors were next enjoined. An important part of the responsibility of the novice consisted in the drawing up of a detailed report for the archives of the order, containing complete information concerning his family and his personal career, covering such remote items as the titles of the books he possessed, the names of his personal enemies, and the occasion of their enmity, his own strong and weak points of character, the dominant passions of his parents, the names of their parents and intimates, etc. That's a lot of info. Monthly reports were also required covering the benefits the recruit had received from and the services he had rendered to the order. It's the same thing with Freemasonry. They get you in the exact same way. They have you admit all of your deepest, darkest secrets. They want you to give up all of your information, everything that you're hiding, like gold, wealth, property. And then once they can trust you, they start to give you stuff. They start to give you pictures of wealth and give you an avenue to get there. But you have to follow their plan. And they will start to give you connections. And these connections will start to include you in on bids for jobs, on what work that you do. Because they all have control of the city. And as a novice, you think you're there to do good because Adam Weishaupt started this whole thing based on thwarting the evildoers of the Jesuits. But they never got thwarted. Not by Adam Weishaupt. Not by my information. The Orsinis have kept control, especially of the Catholic Church and the Papal. For the building up of the order, the novice must undertake his share in the work of recruitment, his personal advancement to the higher grades being conditioned upon the success of such efforts. To those whom he enrolled, he became in turn a superior, and thus after a novitiate, presumably 2 years in length, the way was open for his promotion to the next higher grade. When a novice proved to his superiors to be worthy of advancement, he was initiated to the grade Minerval. Let me show you what image I have for that. They get to wear that. Let me explain. Minerval seals of the Bavarian Illuminati. These pendants worn around the necks of Minerval initiates featured the owl of Minerva, also known as the owl of wisdom. This symbol is still found today in powerful places around the White House, hidden on the dollar bill, or on the insignia of the Bohemian Club, or Bohemian Grove. The term Minerval is derived from Minerva, who was the Roman goddess of poetry, medicine, wisdom, commerce, weaving, crafts, magic, and music. Wow. Sounds like all of the things right now that they control. She is often depicted with her sacred creature, an owl, which symbolizes her ties to wisdom. An ancient symbol of the mysteries, Minerva is prominently featured in places such as the Library of Congress and the Great Seal of California. No shit. These people are sick. The second grade of the Illuminati was one of indoctrination. The initiates were lectured on the spiritual principles of the order, but had little information regarding the true aims of Weishaupt and his close circle of administrators. The ceremony of initiation, through which the novice passed into the grade Minerval, was expected to disabuse the mind of the candidate of any lingering suspicion that the order had at its supreme object the subjugation of the rich and powerful, or the overthrow of civil and ecclesiastical government. It is also pledged the candidate to be useful to humanity, to maintain a silence eternal, a fidelity inviolable, and an obedience implicit with respect to all the superiors and rulers of the order, and to sacrifice all personal interests to those of the society. Sound like just a swell group of people, don't they? Just swell. Minervals were permitted to meet some of their superiors, or illuminated Minervals, and to engage in discussions with them. This privilege alone was a great source of motivation for the new initiates. And then next is the illuminated Minerval. Selected from among the Minerval, the illuminated Minerval, were given specific tasks to accomplish in order to prepare them to take action in the real world. Most of their work consisted in the study of mankind and the perfection of methods to direct it. Each illuminated Minerval was entrusted with a small group of Minervals who were scrutinized, analyzed, and led towards specific directions. Lower grade members of the order therefore became test subjects for techniques that might be applied to the masses in general. So you can't just go to the next level if you don't believe in something that they're doing. Like if they say, I need you to go to that court system, I know you have a job there, and I need you to steal a piece of a document from this area and bring it to me, or make a copy of it. If you say this is unethical, then you don't go up to the illuminated maneuver. You know what I mean? To the great illuminated Minerval were admitted those Minervals who in the judgment of their superiors were worthy of advancement. Elaborate initiatory ceremonies fixed in the candidate's mind the notions that the progressive purification of his life was to be expected as he worked his way upward in the order, and that the mastery of the art of directing men was to be his special pursuit as long as he remained in the new grade. To accomplish this latter, an example, to become an expert psychologist and director of men's consciences, he must observe and study constantly the actions, purposes, desires, faults, and virtues of the little group of Minervals who were placed under his personal direction and care. For his guidance in this difficult task, a complicated mass of instructions was furnished him. It does sound dirty. In addition to their continued presence in the assemblies of the Minervals, the members of the grade came together once a month by themselves to hear reports concerning their disciples, to discuss methods of accomplishing the best results in their work of direction, and to solicit each other's counsel in difficult and embarrassing cases. In these meetings, the records of the assemblies of the Minervals were reviewed and rectified, and afterwards transmitted to the superior officers of the order. From this basic structure, the Illuminati began its expansion. Everything was in place for Weishaupt to achieve an important goal, the infiltration of Freemasonry. And it happened. In 1777, the year following the creation of the Illuminati, Weishaupt joined the Masonic Lodge of Theodore of Good Counsel in Munich. Not only did he successfully propagate his views into the lodge, he also managed to get the lodge to be virtually absorbed into the Illuminist order almost immediately. A definite alliance between the Illuminati and Freemasonry became possible in 1780, within 2 years. Or 4 years. Or no, 3. 3 years. when a prominent figure by the name of Baron Adolf Franz Frederick, Knigge, Nige? Nig? I'm just going to say Nige, was initiated into Weissaup's order. The German diplomat's Masonic connections and organizational skills were promptly put to use by the order. Nige would go on to accomplish two important tasks for the Illuminati. He revised the hierarchy of the order, created new higher grades, and allowed the full integration of Masonic lodges into the system. Two weighty consequences promptly followed as the result of Nige's advent into the order. The long-sought higher grades were worked out, and an alliance between the Illuminati and Freemasonry was effective. Let's go to slide number 3. That guy. This is Nige, or Nig. Nigga. It's Knigge. Can someone help me, please, pronounce this correctly? Holy crap. Knigge, that's what I'm going to say, Knigge. An influential North German diplomat and occultist, joined the Illuminati in 1780. He is here shown displaying the sign of the hidden hand. Did you know that Napoleon did the sign of the hidden hand? I'm just saying. That is a Freemason sign to their other people that they are in control of the job that they were given. Here he is shown displaying the sign of hidden hand. And you can read about that in an article entitled The Hidden Hand That Shaped the World on the Vigilant Citizen. Vigilant Citizen website is awesome, by the way. You should go check it out. Knigge's influence upon the order was profound and immediate. The new system he devised attracted Freemasons and other powerful figures, which gave the movement great momentum. Now, here is the system that was devised by Knigge. God, I get myself in trouble. Holy crap. All right. This is Illuminati method examples. Knigge's kept the order's original grades untouched, but added new grades above them. The second level of the Illuminati incorporated the grades of Freemasonry, making therefore the Brotherhood simply a part of the wider Illuminist superstructure. The grade novice, a part of the system only in the preparatory sense, was left unchanged by Knigge, save for the addition of a printed communication to be put into the hands of all the new recruits, advising them that the Order of the Illuminati stands over against all other forms of contemporary Freemasonry as one type not degenerate, and as such alone able to restore the craft to its ancient splendor. The 3 symbolic grades of the second class seem to have been devised solely for the purpose of supplying an avenue whereby members of the various branches of the great Masonic family could pass to the higher grades of the new order. The highest grades of the order... Edge is like, how do you spell that again? And he tried to spell it. No, it's spelled Knigge. Gge, not, no. Knigge, guys. Okay? No, we're not. God help me. The highest grades of the order were restricted to a select few. Included powerful individuals and influential figures. The grade of prince held within its ranks national inspectors, provincials, prefects, and deans of the priests. At the top of the pyramid were the magus, M-A-G-U-S, also known as Areopagites, which comprised the supreme heads of the order. Their identities were safely guarded and are still difficult to confirm today. Knigge's strategy gave impressive results and allowed the Illuminati to become an extremely powerful movement. Powerful. Do you understand? Nursery, masonry, mysteries. It's a way to weed out the people who will not work with them and do what they are told. Carnegie's strategy gave impressive results and allowed the Illuminati to become an extremely powerful movement. The new method of spreading Illuminism by means of its affiliation with the Masonic lodges promptly demonstrated its worth, largely because of the fine strategy of seeking its recruits among the officers and other influential personages in the lodges of Freemasonry. One after another of the latter in quick succession went over to the new system. New prefectures were established, new provinces organized, and provincials began to report a steady and copious stream of new recruits. Students, merchants, doctors, pharmacists, lawyers, judges, professors in gymnasia and universities, preceptors, civil officers, pastors, priests, all were generously represented among the new recruits. Distinguished names soon appeared upon the roster of the lodges of the new system. Duke Ferdinand of Brunswick, Duke Ernst of Gotha, Duke Karl August of Saxe-Weimar, Prince August of Saxe-Gotha, Prince Karl of Hesse, Baron Daldberg, the philosopher Herder, the poet Goethe, the educationist Pestalozzi were among the number enrolled. By the end of 1784, the leaders boasted of a total enrollment of between 2,000 and 3,000 members. And the establishment of the order upon a solid foundation seemed to be fully assured. Weishaupt, however, did not enjoy his order's success for long. Magus is similar to maga. Yes, which is Latin, which means witch. Right, Vaughn. Suspicions of Illuminati conspiracy against governments and religious institutions came across Europe. Seeing a credible threat against its power, the Bavarian government launched an edict outlawing all communities, societies, and brotherhoods that existed without due authorization of the law. Furthermore, internal disagreements between Weishaupt and the higher-ups of his order led to disputes and dissension. In the midst of it all, some members went directly to the authorities and testified against the order, an opportunity that was not missed by the Bavarian government. Out of the mouths of its friends, the accusations which its enemies made against the order were to be substantiated. By the admissions of its leaders, the system of the Illuminati had the appearance of an organization devoted to the overthrow of religion and state, a band of poisoners and forgers, an association of men of disgusting morals and depraved tastes. By 1788, through the use of aggressive legislation and criminal charges, the Bavarian Illuminati was apparently dissipated and destroyed by the government. While some see here the conclusion of the story of the Illuminati, one must not forget that the tentacles of the Illuminism had the time to spread way beyond the confines of Bavaria to reach Masonic lodges across Europe, meaning the damage was already done. In other words, the Illuminati was never destroyed, it simply went underground. A year later, an important event would prove that Illuminism was more alive and potent than ever: the French Revolution. The French Revolution.
If you're looking for a publication that delivers honest takes and critical insights into the issues of our day, then look no further than the Flame Paper. The Flame Paper is written for the people, by the people, who aren't afraid to challenge a mainstream narrative, be it healthcare, voter fraud, political correctness, or even the one world government. The Flame is full of timely articles, reports, and expert advice written by freedom-loving, truth-telling experts, journalists, and concerned citizens. To subscribe, go to theflameusa.com.
Go to theflameusa.com. Those are my girls. Help support us. Now, the French Revolution, the violent overthrow of the French monarchy in 1789, symbolized to many the victory of Jacobinism. Jacobinism? I thought it was Jacobinism. Jacobinism and Illuminism over the traditional institutions of the time. Have you guys heard of the Society of Jacob? Jacob. Anyway, you've seen some movies and they were talking about, well, are you a Jacobite? Well, I'm a Jacobite. You know, are you of the Society of Jacob? Okay. Well, apparently, the Jacobs were against the Illuminati, and the Illuminati were trying to overthrow the government, and the Jacobites were trying to destroy the Illuminati. And we just don't understand too much, at least I don't, what that was all about. But I've heard about it. And there were times where if you were a Jacobite, you were very quiet and secretive about it. But again, how can Satan cast out Satan? It's all Satan, okay? The problem Satan has is man wants what he wants. They want to become God. And man has free will. They can do whatever the hell they want. Even if Satan directs them, they're going to say, I'd rather become king. That's the big conundrum that Satan has always had. Yes, Sarah, we know that they're putting mRNA in our food. We know. Now, you've never ever talked to us, and now you're just saying this and telling us to go to Track Doc. Okay. Why don't you tell us how long you've been listening to the show first before you start telling us to go to somebody's website? We don't know you. The violent overthrow of the French monarchy in 1789 symbolized to many the victory of Jacobinism and Illuminism over the traditional institutions of the time. The adaptation of the Declaration of Human Rights officially recorded Masonic and Illuminist values into the core of the French government. The country's new motto, which is freedom, equality, and brotherhood, was said to be a famous Masonic saying that was used in French lodges for centuries. Let's take a look at that motto here in number 5. That was the picture that they put up everywhere. Freedom, equality, and brotherhood, which basically is Satan trying to cast out Satan. The official document of the Declaration of Human Rights contains several occult symbols. Look at the top. Is that not an all-seeing eye and a pyramid? Hello. Hello. First, the symbol of the all-seeing eye within a triangle surrounded by the light of the blazing star Sirius is found above everything else. This symbol is also found on the Great Seal of the United States. Underneath the title is depicted an Ouroboros, a serpent eating its own tail, an esoteric symbol associated with alchemy, Gnosticism, and Hermetism, the core teachings of Masonry. Right underneath the Ouroboros is a red Phrygian cap. Phrygian cap. A symbol representing Illuminist revolutions across the world. The entire declaration is guarded by Masonic pillars, or Boaz and Jacob. We talked about those, didn't we? We did. But this is the whole, whatever, I can't do it. Yeah, this, yeah, that is their declaration against the Illuminati. We're going to go after them with our own declaration of Satanism. That's pretty much Satan casting out Satan. Isn't that crazy? Now, there was backlash against Illuminism. If through Bavarian Illuminati was said to be dead, the idea it promoted still became a reality. Okay? The Freemasons and Rosicrucians were still thriving, and the Illuminati appeared to be living through them. Europe was undergoing profound turmoil as a new class of people took the helms of power. Critics began to emerge, revealing to the masses the secret forces behind the changes that we're witnessing. It's kind of like happening right now where Trump, Elon Musk, and now Dennis Quaid, all the people getting on the Trump train It's a new class of people that have the same statutes and limitations and an order, same philosophies, just ran by different people. And if Trump does win, he will take us to war. We have no other choice. I don't see any other way out of it unless we just declare bankruptcy and pull all of our armies out and hunker down and try to pay off our debts. But they're not going to do that. Biden, I've done the research, Biden put us $7 trillion over debt, over the GDP, $7 trillion over. Trump was only $1 trillion over. Obama put us over the GDP and then $1 trillion over. Trump, during his reign, we just made more money under Trump, but we still owed $1 trillion over the GDP. But Biden went all in. Fuck it. There's no way that we could ever pay that back. And who are we paying it back to? Ourselves? Do we print money to ourselves? I'm telling you this, Russia, China, all the other ones who apparently are our enemies, they're not too fond of how we are playing God. The Freemasons and Rosicrucians were still thriving. Critics began to emerge, revealing to the masses that secret forces behind the changes were here. Leopold Hoffman, a Freemason who was convinced that the Illuminati corrupted his brotherhood, published a series of articles in his journal entitled Wiener Zeitschrift. I think it's Wiener, W-I-E-N-E-R, Wiener Zeitschrift. It is his journal. I'm going to name my journal Wiener. He claimed that the lower grades of the Illuminati had been dissolved, but the highest degrees were still active. He also added that Freemasonry was being subjugated by Illuminism and transformed to serve its ends. He also stated that the French Revolution was the result of years of Illuminist propaganda. Well, we're being propagandized right now. We don't know what's up and what's down. We don't know who's good and who's bad. We've been designed to hate. We've been designed to hate anybody who doesn't align with our views. In 1797, John Robinson, a Scottish physician, mathematician, and inventor, he invented the siren, published a book entitled Proofs of a Conspiracy Against All the Religions and Governments of Europe, carried on in the secret meetings of the Freemasons, Illuminati, and reading societies. It's a long title of a book. You could have shortened it there, pal. You're inventor of the siren. Anyway, this devout Freemason became disenchanted when he realized that his brotherhood had been infiltrated by the Illuminati. Here's an excerpt of his book. I have found that the covert of a Mason lodge had been employed in every country for venting and propagating sentiments in religions and politics that could not have been circulated in public without exposing the author to great danger. I found that this impunity had gradually encouraged men of licentious principles to become more bold and to teach doctrines subversive of all our notions of morality, of all our confidence in the moral government of the universe, of all our hopes of improvement in a future state of existence, and of all the satisfaction and contentment with our present life, so long as we live in a state of civil subordination. I have been able to trace these attempts made through a course of 50 years under the specious pretext of enlightening the world by the torch of philosophy and of dispelling the clouds of civil and religious superstitions, which keep the nations of Europe in darkness and slavery. Well, there you have it. All right, Sarah Ross. Live, I have to literally block you. I mean, I'm all for, telling people to not, watch out for the vax in your food. But good God, do you have to spam us live while we're on a show here? Psh, come on. I have observed these doctrines gradually diffusing. I'm still reading him, but I'm not going to do the voice anymore. I have observed these doctrines gradually diffusing and mixing with all different systems of Freemasonry till at last an association had been formed for the express purpose of rooting out all of the religious establishments and overturning all the existing governments of Europe. I have seen this association exerting itself zealously and systematically till it has become almost irresistible. And I have seen that the most active leaders in the French Revolution were members of this association and conducted their first movements according to its principles and by means of its instructions and assistance, formally requested and obtained. And lastly, I have seen that this association still exists, still works in secret, and that not only several appearances among ourselves show that its emissaries are endeavoring to propagate their detestable doctrines, but that the association has lodges in Britain corresponding with the Mother Lodge at Munich ever since 1784. You guys break me off. Boots like, bot or not? Literally. The association of which I have been speaking of, the Order of the Illuminati, founded in 1775 by Dr. Adam Weishaupt, professor of canon law at the University of Ingolstadt, and abolished in 1786 by the Elector of Bavaria, but revived immediately after under another name and in a different form all over Germany. It was again detected and seemingly broken up, but it had by this time taken so deep in root that it still subsists without being detected and has spread into all of the countries across Europe. Ouch. Augustin Barrel, a French Jesuit priest, also published 1797 a book linking the French Revolution to the Bavarian Illuminati. In Memoirs pour savoir historico Jacobism, he traced back the slogan. It was in French. He traced back the slogan, liberty and equality, back to the early Templars and claimed that in the higher degrees of the order, liberty and equality is explained not only by war against kings and thrones, but by war against Christ and his altars. Interesting. He also provided details pertaining to the Illuminist takeover of Freemasonry. Borul, which was someone in charge back then, charged that not only that the lower order of Masonry were duped by Weishaupt, but also those of Weishaupt's own Illuminati, for whom he had provided another top secret level of direction known as Aeopagus, a withdrawn circle of directors of the whole order, who alone knew its secret aims. To Borul, such revolutionary leaders as Lauro Roquefoucauld, Lafayette, and the Duke of d'Orleans, had become Illuminati agents and dupes of more extreme radicals such as Danton, provocateurs who sparked the Illuminati-directed rebellion. Borul further charged that the entire French Masonic establishment had been converted to Weishaupt's revolutionary ideas. Its lodges turned into secret committees which planned bloodshed. So Adam got it all started, got into Freemasonry, took it over, and then they took it down. But Adam's whole goal was to take out the Jesuits, but yet that's not what happened. They got stronger. And in fact, they used the French Revolution to gain more power in France. It wasn't a revolution. It got worse for the French. And now the propagation is in America. Most of America's founding fathers were part of secret societies, whether the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, or others. Some of them traveled to Europe and were well versed in the doctrines of the Illuminati. From 1776 to 1785, when the Bavarian Illuminati was openly active, Benjamin Franklin was in Paris serving as the ambassador of the United States to France. During his stay, he became Grand Master of the Lodge Les Neuf Sceaux, which was attached to the Grand Orient of France. This Masonic organization was said to have become the French headquarters of the Bavarian Illuminati. Yeah, so Benjamin Franklin, he was an asshole. It was particularly influential in organizing of the French support for the American Revolution and was later part of the process towards the French Revolution. So these guys had their hands in the whole cookie jar during the whole time. In 1799, when German minister G.W. Schneider warned George Washington of the Illuminati's plan to overthrow all governments and religion, Washington replied that he had heard much of the nefarious and dangerous plan and doctrines of the Illuminati. He, however, concluded by his letter stating, "I believe, notwithstanding that none of the lodges in this country are contaminated with the principles ascribed to the Society of the Illuminati." What an asshole! George Washington. He just went on a hunch. Well, I don't think they are, but they were. Because he was a part of it, or blackmailed to be a part of it, or told to let it alone. In another letter to Schneider, written a month later, Washington continued on this topic. "It was not my intention to doubt that the doctrines of the Illuminati and principles of Jacobinism had not spread in the United States. On the contrary, no one is more truly satisfied of this fact than I am. Probably because he was one. The idea that I meant to convey was that I did not believe that the lodges of Freemasons in this country had, as societies, endeavored to propagate the diabolical tenets of the first or pernicious principles of the latter. If they are susceptible of separation, that individuals of them may have done it, or that the founder or instrument employed to found the democratic societies in the United States, I thought we were a republic, may have had these objects and actually had a separation of the people from their government in view is too evident to be questioned." Part of the original letter is here. This is original letter written by George Washington regarding the Illuminati. Judging by this letter, George Washington was obviously well aware of the doctrines of the Illuminati, and even if he did not believe that the Masonic institutions of the United States propagated its doctrines, he concedes that individuals might have undertaken that endeavor. So you can basically say, thanks, George Washington, but unfortunately, guys, all of your heroes, all of your president heroes, all of them, they were all compromised. Presidents are selected, not elected. We live in a fallen world, and that's what happens in a fallen world. We don't get what we want. We take what they give. You are an ambassador to the kingdom of heaven. You don't belong to this world, and the Bible says for you not to love it. And this is what the devil does, is he raises clubs and then destroys them and then raises them again for his own pleasure. Today, the term Illuminati is used too loosely to describe the small group of powerful individuals who are working towards the creation of a world government with the issue of a single world currency and a single world religion. Although it is difficult to determine if this group descends directly from the original Bavarian Illuminati or that it even uses the term Illuminati, its tenets and methods are in perfect continuation of it in all Freemasonic lodges worldwide. As stated above, the name that is used to describe the occult elite can change, however, as I've mentioned. And ultimately, the name is irrelevant. What needs to be recognized is the underlying current that has existed for centuries. And we're seeing it now with P. Diddy. We saw it with Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein. That is, they are agents of the Illuminati. Their job is to party hard with corporations, mayors, government officials, musicians, lawyers, actors, any official that has power worldwide. They party with them, slip a Mickey, and then take pictures of them doing things that are unimaginable. Unimaginable. This is their MO, their modus operatus. And it's been going on for thousands of years. That's why we have to be careful when we meet up and talk to people, even for coffee, as we don't know people that we don't know and what their intentions are. We have to be very careful. We have to use wisdom. Especially pastors, if a female asks you to meet them at their house to pray, you don't go there. Period. You say, no, but we can meet at Starbucks, where there's an open room with people and proof so that you don't get yourself compromised. According to Manly P. Hall, the Bavarian Illuminati was part of what he calls the Universal Brotherhood, an invisible order at the source of most hermetic secret societies of the past. Yeah. It has worked for centuries towards the transformation of mankind, guiding it through a worldwide alchemical process. The same way the alchemical great work seeks to turn crude metals into gold, it claims to work towards a similar metamorphosis of the world or of people. According to Hall, the Universal Brotherhood sometimes makes itself visible, but under the guise of different names and symbols. This would mean that the Knights Templars, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and Illuminati are temporarily visible. Manifestations of an underlying force that is infinitely more profound and more powerful than you could ever imagine. However, human beings, being what they are, weak towards greed and power and lust, these movements often become corrupted and end up conspiring against the masses for more power and material gain. We're witnessing it right now, folks. They needed a patsy to take down to keep your eyes off of Jeffrey Epstein and the list of all of the major presidents who rode on his airplane, which Trump rode on it, 13 times? 11 to 13 times? They're all in the club. It's a big club, and you're not in it. Certainly there was an undercurrent of things esoteric in the most mystical sense of the word beneath the surface of Illuminism. In this respect, the order followed exactly in the footsteps of the Knights Templars. The Templars returned to Europe after the Crusades, bringing with them a number of choice fragments of Oriental occult lore, some of which they had garnered from the Druzes of Lebanon, and some from the disciples of Hassan ibn al-Sabah, the old wizard of Mount Alamut, or Alamut. If there was a deep mystical current flowing beneath the surface of Illuminism, it is certain that Weishaupt was not the Castalian spring. Perhaps the lilies of the Illuminati and the roses of the Rosicrucians were, by a miracle of nature, flowing from the same stem. The old symbolism would suggest this, and it is not always wise to ignore ancient landmarks. There is only one explanation that meets the obvious and natural requirements of the known facts. The Illuminati were part of an esoteric tradition which had descended from remote antiquity and had revealed itself for a short time amongst the humanists and Ingolstadt. One of the blossoms of the sky plant was there, but the roots were afar in better ground. Hall concludes that the Illuminati existed long before the advent of Weishaupt's order, and that it still exists today. It was under the guise of defeat and destruction that the Illuminati realized its greatest victories. Weishaupt emerged as a faithful servant of a higher cause. Behind him moved an intricate machinery of the secret school. As usual, they did not trust their full weight to any perishable institution. The physical history of the Bavarian Illuminati extended over a period of only 12 years. It is difficult to understand, therefore, the profound stir which this movement caused in the political life of Europe. We are forced to the realization that this Bavarian group was only one fragment of a large and composite design. All efforts to discover the members of the higher grades of the Illuminist order have been unsuccessful. It has been customary, therefore, to assume that these higher grades did not exist except in the midst of Weishaupt and von Knigge. It is not equally possible that a powerful group of men resolved to remain entirely unknown moved behind Weishaupt and pushed him forward as a screen for its own activities? The ideals of Illuminism, as they are found in the pagan mysteries of antiquity, were old when Weishaupt was born, and it is unlikely that these long-cherished convictions perished with his Bavarian equipment. The work that was unfinished in 1785 remains unfinished in 1950. Esoteric orders will not become extinct until the purpose which brought them into being has been fulfilled. Organizations may perish, but the great school is indestructible. Now you've seen this. The great symbol, the great seal of the United States featuring the unfinished Great Pyramid of Giza, a symbol of the unfinished work of the esoteric orders or a New World Order. The seal was adopted on the American dollar by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a 32nd degree Freemason and a Knight of Pythias with ties to Manly Hall. Wonderful. God, I hate these people. The Illuminati today? Well, the agenda is still alive. You're seeing it on TV right now. What form does it take? Well, from the esoteric and spiritual point of view, some modern secret societies, such as the OTO, or Ordo Templi Orientis, have claimed to be the heirs of Illuminism. Other researchers stated that there exists hidden orders above the 33rd visible degrees of Freemasonry that form the Illuminati. As they are, by definition, secret, obtaining details about these orders is quite difficult. However, I did an interview with Dr. Bill Schneblin, who was what? He said he was a 91st degree Mason. He said there was 90 and 92, and those two somewhere. And he became that. He was a vampire. He drank blood. Remember my interview with Dr. Bill Schneblin? The political side of modern Illuminism is a lot more visible, and its plans are obvious. I see it. You should be seeing it too. An increasingly restrictive and concentrated group is being entrusted with the creation of important decisions and policies. International committees and organizations acting above elected officials are today creating social and economic policies that are applied on a global level. The World Economic Forum, for example. This phenomenon is rather new in world history, as rather than kingdoms or nations, a non-elected shadow government composed of the world's elite is gradually becoming the center of world power. On another political plane are ideological groups such as the Council on Foreign Relations or participants in the World Economic Forum. Here we find leaders in politics, business, finance, education, and the media who share a belief in the value of global solutions, are in position of high authority and influence, and represent different levels of involvement with the inner circle of the group. Most members simply welcome the opportunity to associate with other well-known luminaries and are honored by being offered membership or attendance privileges. Yet the ideology at the highest levels of such groups supports a world government to be administered by a class of experts and planners entrusted with running centrally organized social and political institutions, which I find disgusting. Although members may be persuaded to add their considerable voices to certain transnational political and economic policies, they may not be as supportive or even aware of the long-range ambitions of the inner circle. And we all know what they want. They want to kill 7.5 billion of you. Shove the rest into smart cities and leave the countries alone. The country, the land. Leave the land alone. And then automate all of the luxuries for them through robots. And you will be assigned jobs to keep the city clean and to fix the robots. That's really all your job is going to be. You're going to be fixing the machines that keep the 1% in luxury. And then they say, well, we're going to go to the stars, which we can't even get beyond the firmament. The main elite groups and councils are the International Crisis Group, the Council on Foreign Relations, the World Economic Forum, the Brookings Institution, Chatham House, the Trilateral Commission, and the Bilderberg Group. Those are the main ones. Now, the Bohemian Club is known, or Bohemian Grove, at the Bohemian Grove, is known to hold informal gatherings of the world elite punctuated with strange ceremonies and rituals. There's also tales of just strange perverseness, hookers, you name it. They run around naked in the forest, worshiping Baal and Moloch. The club's insignia is an owl, Moloch, similar to the one found on the Bavarian Illuminati's Minerval seal. And of course, the insignia of the Bohemian Grove. If one would carefully study the members and attendees of these elusive clubs, you would notice that they combine the most powerful politicians, CEOs, and intellectuals of the time with lesser-known individuals with famous names. They are descendants of powerful dynasties that rose to power by taking over vital aspects of modern economies, such as the banking system, the oil industry, and mass media. They have been associated with game-changing events such as the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913. This act completely modified the banking system of the United States, placing it in the hands of a few elite corporations. A proof of this is the court decision of 1982 stating that the Federal Reserve banks are not federal instrumentalities for purpose of the FTCA or the Federal Tort Claims Act, but are independent, privately owned, and locally controlled corporations. In his book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati, controversial author Fritz Springmeier claims that today's Illuminati is formed from the descendants of 13 powerful families whose ancestors had close or distant ties to the original Bavarian Illuminati. According to Springmeier, the 13 bloodlines are the Astors, the Bundys, the Collins, the DuPonts, the Freemasons, the Kennedys, the Lees, the Onassis, the Reynolds, the Rockefellers, and the Rothschilds, and Russells, and the Van Dynes, D-U-Y-N-S. There is no doubt, but those are the illuminated underneath the 13 Zoroastrian bloodlines. So there's 26. But the 13 underneath will be eaten by the 13 above. And when I say eaten, I mean it literally. There is no doubt that by virtue of the material and political resources they own, some of these families have a great deal of power in today's world. They appear to form the core of what we call today the Illuminati. However, are they conspiring to create a new world order? Here's a quote from David Rockefeller's memoirs that might answer some questions. For more than a century, this is David Rockefeller, ideological extremists at either end of the political spectrum have seized upon well-publicized incidences such as my encounter with Castro to attack the Rockefeller family for the inordinate influence they claim we wield over American political and economic institutions. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that is the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it. In conclusion, The story of the Illuminati has been repressed or revealed, debunked or exposed, ridiculed or exaggerated countless of times, all depending on the point of the authors and whether they are apologists or critics. To obtain the absolute truth about a group that is always meant to be secret is quite a challenge, and one must use a great deal of judgment and discernment to differentiate the facts from the fabrications. It is not possible to answer all of the questions relating to the Illuminati. This article simply attempted to draw a more precise picture of the order and to present important facts relating to it. Today's political atmosphere is quite different from the time of Weishaupt and the American founding fathers, yet there are still many similarities. While the Bavarian Illuminists purportedly denounced the political and religious oppressions of the Vatican, a new kind of oppression is taking form. As democracies merge into a single world government, as privacy and freedoms become replaced by security and high-tech surveillance, as schools crack down on critical thinking, as mass media dumbs down and disinforms the masses, as secret operations carry out crimes against humanity, and as all the major protests get violently repressed by a growing police state, it is easy to draw the conclusion that a similarly repressive system is currently being instated. Did the Illuminati truly liberate the Western world from the oppression of the Vatican, or did it simply continue in its footsteps? I'll leave you with Albert Einstein. The minority, the ruling class at present, has the schools and press, usually the church as well, under its thumb. This enables it to organize and sway the emotions of the masses and make its tool of them. This has been Cause Before Symptom. I'm your host, James Carner. Tune in tomorrow night. Actually, tomorrow I'm not going to be here. It's going to be urban, hopefully. I got to go up to Seattle. But God bless you. God keep you. God thank you for being here with me tonight. I will be back in 2 days. I hope this information was educational and answered a lot of questions for you. Yes, the Illuminati is real. Yes, they are after your wealth, and yes, they want to take over the world. They will never stop. They'll just change their names. Go to jamescarner.com to fill out my newsletter. It's the only way I can get a hold of you. And if you could just do me a favor, just one, love your neighbor. It's the only way this world will be a better place. See you soon.